Keegan Bradley won $3.6 million with these golf clubs. But once I dug a bit deeper, there's probably a good reason why these clubs work so well for him. Putting aside the 6 brands that make up his golf bag, which ones are overhyped, and which ones are a great deal. Trying to nail down the winning bag at the BMW Championship for Keegan Bradley was a bit of a challenge. For example, differing websites had him down for different clubs on the day, but I'm not overly surprised as Keegan Bradley definitely likes to tinker. And I don't blame him, it works for him. Good win last year, good win this year. A very solid end to the season, but there's absolutely no question he's not afraid to get rid of equipment if it's not working for him. Also, a quick thank you to Replay Golf for helping me build this bag in its entirety. For example, we had TaylorMade in the top end of the bag for a long time, had a little flutter with the ZX5s from Srixon, then went to the Ping G430, start of the year went to the QI10, and now back to the G430 LST. Now it goes without saying, this definitely isn't the most underrated option through this whole bag, but also I don't think we can call it overrated either. And this was the first piece of the puzzle that really gave me a great insight to this whole bag, which will definitely become a lot more clearer as we go through this video. But the reason I say this club is properly rated is because from what I can tell, Ping has 23 odd tour players sponsored on tour. Very stiff swing first thing in the morning, but they're currently the second most used driver on tour above Callaway and TaylorMade. Not to mention the G430 LST with its carbon crown is the most used model of them all. Now, if you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know Ping does incredibly well in the second-hand market because obviously it can be used on tour, but it obviously can be used very well with the general public. And by no stretch of the imagination am I saying the G430 is great value at the moment, but it is a safe bet, and if you were to buy the G425 or the G430 for around the price it's going for at the moment, you definitely won't be struggling to sell it in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because there's an incredible demand in the second-hand market for the G430, G425, G400. So yes, more cash up front, but see it as an investment because I don't think you're going to lose that much money on it as long as you look after the thing. Which leads me into the next club in the bag, which you could definitely say is somewhat overhyped. I actually got to use the Jailbird Versa putter that became incredibly popular after Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler were winning with this putter that was so old. And evidently after those back-to-back wins last year, the Versa putter went from an 80-pound putter to near on a 250-pound putter. It's no surprise then that Odyssey obviously kept coming out with newer versions of that Jailbird putter, which was in Keegan Bradley's bag at the start of the year with the AI1, but for the BMW Championship win, the old school Versa Jailbird putter went back in Keegan's bag. And it ties in so well with the story of this bag and also the message that I'm going to convey to you guys is that number one, Odyssey is the most used putter on tour, which I found incredibly interesting. With over 50 tour players using Odyssey putters, but 48 different models, which goes to show not one size fits all. And if you have that placebo confidence over a particular look, feel, graphics, whatever, then obviously that putter can work for you. So before I get to the other clubs that compound this theory of the popularity contest on tour, let's go to the ones that I feel are a bit more underrated. Now, Keegan Bradley is sponsored by Srixon and Cleveland, so there obviously has to be some kind of hardware in the bag. However, there's 2 things that I really like about these zip cores. Number one is their great value secondhand. We're talking £50, £60, and let's be honest, if you want to get a brand new one, you're talking £80 opposed to other models costing near on 150. And trust me, they definitely spin enough. But the other thing I like about Keegan's wedge choices is that it's very simple. He only has 2 wedges at the bottom end of the bag, which is incredible for a tour player. But I like the way Cleveland puts full or low or mid on the toe, so it makes you guys understand exactly what you're after. which when buying second-hand wedges and you're not quite sure what you're after, full is for that steeper angle of attack, more forgiveness, low being that very versatile from high lofted clubs to get underneath it, high floaty shots around the green for more advanced players, and then obviously the mid, which is obviously between the two, being able to give you that kind of versatility. But for a lot of you mid to high handicappers that play incredibly wet golf courses, full is definitely what I'd probably advise. Which brings me on to the other underrated sponsored version through this bag, which I'm thinking about putting in my bag next year. You see, these are going to get replaced next year, which means, well, they're going to get cheaper. And that's important to say because 2 years ago, I would have said Srixon is incredibly underrated in this kind of category, especially in the second-hand market. But when I look at these irons now, it definitely sounds like a David versus Goliath story. And when you're talking about small stable of players on tour, Srixon is definitely down there with the lowest. However, they had a major win with Brooks Koepka using the ZX7 Mark IIs last year. Matsuyama has won 2 events this year with the Srixon forged irons. Shane Lowry won with Rory McIlroy in that team pairs event earlier this year. And now Keegan Bradley again has won with the Srixon ZX7s. And it goes to show in the second-hand market because I remember stupidly saying last year that the Mark IIs will be great value after Brooks Koepka's win because no one really thinks about buying Srixon. But that seems to definitely be changing as the ZX7 Mark IIs on eBay in good condition, 4 to pitching wedge, still go for £650. But as I say, these are going to get replaced next year, which means just like the original ZX7s, which to be honest I think are just as good as these, they'll come more down to the £300, £400 mark, and hence why I'm even thinking about putting them in the bag. And overall, it's a pros and cons scenario. I like the fact these are getting more popular, but it means initially they're going to cost more, but then it also means in a year, 2 years, or you think I'm talking absolutely nonsense and you hate these when you buy them, you'll be able to get rid of them quite quickly. Right, enough of the sponsored content. What other trends has Keegan Bradley put in his bag? Because if I ask you what's the most popular model of hybrid, in big quotation marks that is, you probably wouldn't say this one. Yep, she definitely goes a bit of a distance. The reason I put this as a caveat of hybrid is it really a hybrid? Plus also, it's not easy to distinguish. This is a great club for a lot of you to use because a lot of tour pros would use a driving iron instead of this, or they'd use a 7-iron instead of this. But without question, looking at the PGA Club Tracker website, the Apex utility wood is definitely the most popular. And I've done videos on this club before, show you the price list down the right-hand side. It's a unique club from Callaway, shorter than a fairway wood, but still a big forgiving head design. And it definitely can be an acquired taste. But just like the other clubs in this bag, it is popular, especially in the second-hand market. So you'll be able to try it, test it, and not really lose that much money on it, as long as you don't sky the thing. Which brings me on to the fairway wood, and again, some kind of speculation on what he actually used that week at the BMW. But if I ask you the most used fairway wood brand on tour, it's TaylorMade. And it has been for quite some time. The amount of tour pros that aren't sponsored by TaylorMade yet use their fairway wood is quite astounding. Interesting fact, the most used model on tour is still the Ping G430 Max, but you could put that down to contracts with Ping saying that they have to use Ping fairway woods, or potentially they choose to use Ping fairway woods because Ping fairway woods are incredibly forgiving. However, second place is the QI10, as well as a long list of TaylorMade woods, older versions that the pros are still using because TaylorMade have made great fairway woods over the last decade. And unlike the drivers from TaylorMade over the last couple of years losing quite a lot of value, TaylorMade woods, fairway woods, hold their price incredibly well. Again, being a very safe investment, but obviously if you're looking for a cheaper option, Stealth 2, Stealth, Sim 2, Sim are all great choices in this category. But Keegan Bradley has designed arguably the most popular bag on tour, with each model in each category basically topping the most used model from all the other pros. However, that being said, Keegan Bradley is an exceptional golfer with exceptional skill, and obviously these won't mean better scores, but they they will mean if you do buy them second hand at a decent value, you're certainly not going to lose that much money, as these are some of the most sought after clubs in 2024. Guys, if you've got any questions on your golf bag or golf game, sasgolfacademy.com. Catch you guys later.